Welcome to A Vision Live with Bettina Flossmann today and me. I'm Alexandra Kleeberg, and we are creating this A Vision Live right now on the topic of cancer and of changing the perspective on how to view cancer. You have
Yes.
your own very creative healing path out of cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the new creation was a new perspective and a switch in your mindset, and
Yes.
that was
Yes.
very important for your healing, right?
That still is very important for my healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, I can say I have this deep sense of certainty, yeah, that cancer never was something threatening, really. Yeah.
But that's your perspective now,
That's my perspective now.
because
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
people fear cancer.
A lot of people fear cancer, but I think it's because it's so much in our mind and in our collective mind or consciousness that cancer kills.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer is something really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you have to suffer. Yeah.
It's a death
It's a
sentence, right?
it's a slow death sentence.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
not like a heart attack.
yes,
I
yes.
think, yes, that's true, that the suffering is important on the view we have on cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fear a heart attack, really, because it's just like that.
Yes, and also I think because you never really know, like you could have it right now. Yeah, you just don't know, and so there's always this sense of insecurity around it, and all in the media, and even if you go to the doctor, in the toilet. I remember with my gynecologist many years ago when I went there, like in the toilet, you saw the signs. Well, watch out, if this happens, or do this with your breasts, and be very careful, and if you see the first signs, you must go to the doctor, you must have a screening. And there is so much fear everywhere around cancer that you could have it.
And you had this fear before you had this switch in your mindset.
I mean, I've had fear around cancer even before I got it, yeah, because it was like my worst or my biggest fear, because I had friends, very close friends, who died of cancer, and yes, I was just really scared, and I had this, I guess now I would say I had a fear of life, and I was always kind of anticipating the worst case scenario in my life, like the lion coming around the next corner
And
and
that was
eating
cancer,
me.
the worst case scenario.
Well, in this, yes, it was cancer, but it was kind of a mindset. It was kind of an outlook towards my life.
Were
Yeah.
you afraid of death?
Was I afraid of death? Yes, I think I was afraid of death. Yes.
As much
yes.
as you were afraid of cancer?
Tricky question. No, I think I was more scared of cancer because it implied a slow death.
So it's fear of all this suffering and this helplessness.
Yes.
For me, as a psychoanalyst, the cancer is like something deep down in our collective unconscious, like a monster with long arms on the level of the collective consciousness. And there a lot of people live from it, like pharma industry, military, whatever. A lot of industry lives from fear.
Yes.
So this monster down in our collective unconscious is nourished by the collective fear that we have.
Yeah.
So for me, the switch in the mindset is to have a torchlight and to see what's this monster all about. What is it?
Have you ever been afraid of cancer?
I have some members of my family died from cancer, but I had different explanations for that. Like my father died from cancer when he died from heart attack. He got the heart attack. The cancer would have killed him maybe, I don't know, a few years later. But he was a farmer and he worked with a lot of poisonous stuff in the 60s. Like when I grew up, there was a lot of handwork on the farm, and then in the 60s there came a lot of chemistry to prevent to protect the plants, and they kept it in their bare hands. And in the same year my father died, all the male workers from the farm, there were 3, they all died in the same year from cancer.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I have an explanation for that. And my father died when my mother was 58, and she had a very intense relationship with him, and she was going to retire. He was going to retire, and she had the vision that they have a happy life after a lot of work during their marriage. And then she developed cancer, and she wanted to follow him. And she followed him 20 years later, but it was very, very conscious that she wanted to follow him. So I didn't think this is the type of cancer I would get. And my grandmother got cancer when she was 93. And so I said, oh, this is old age. But when my mother died, and I took care for her for a year, very, very intense year, after that, I had the fear that I might get cancer because I was so symbiotic related to her. But that after a year of mourning, then this disappeared.
Okay.
And in my practice, I have a lot of people who have cancer, and I was a little fearful, or I wasn't that safe and encouraging as with people who don't have cancer, because when there's somebody coming with a migraine or something, I say, oh, we will do that, don't worry about it. But with the cancer clients, I said, I didn't have this inner voice saying, yes, this will be a good healing path or something like that. So there was some reluctance with these clients. And I was deeply involved in the topic of cancer for the last 20 years. I did a lot of research on it. I visited a lot of webinars and seminars. And
why?
Because I lost 2 clients from cancer, and at that time I was a single therapy psychoanalyst, and you meet these people 2 or 3 times a week. So it's very intense. And I had people, they brought me all the pictures they painted, and I was very deeply involved in the process. And they had some dreams where now I can say, oh, this was the gate to the healing path. And I didn't see it then. I didn't realize it in the sense. And so I lost them. I was at their funeral, I talked to their parents and so forth. And this sort of, I had a psychotherapeutical crisis, because I said I did everything right, what I knew from dream work and from interpretation and how I went along with these clients, and it didn't help. And so this was one big step to get into research and to workshops and so forth.
All right.
And then maybe 10 years later my mother died, and this was another step. And then you came into my life and some other people, and now I think that's my switch in perspective as a therapist. Before that I said, oh, cancer clients, oh, it's I can't encourage them really. I can follow them, but I couldn't really encourage them. And now there's much more inspiration and motivation when I work with these clients.
But I think, this is such a gift in these times we now live in, because there is all this incredible information available.
Yes.
And I feel so blessed, and I feel, wow, like we've come together now about a year ago, and it feels so easy, because all the people that have inspired me over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, be it a Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, you know all of them.
Yes.
And that is, you know, it's because now we will be doing this amazing online campus on the subject of cancer, and we will be interviewing all these amazing people, and so it feels so easy, like, you know, we don't have to explain to each other who is a Greg Braden or who is this, like we have so much in common. And so now this project is just evolving very naturally.
Yes. I think we have an institute. It's called the Collective Healing Institute, and for me, the collective healing is it's the healing of the collective unconscious and the collective conscious. And I think these names like Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, whoever you call, Louise Hay, and so forth, they belong to a healing community.
Yeah.
Maybe it's virtual, it's in the internet, but it's a community that we long for, a community with wise old people, a community with leaders in a positive sense. In Germany we have terrible leaders. And so I think it's this community that evolves around the earth, and which we want to nourish, and where we want to network by this online congress as well, right? To have a supporting, encouraging network to deal with all sorts of sicknesses. And this is missing in the normal world. You don't have an encouraging network telling you, oh, you can heal all sorts of symptoms. You rather have a fearful network. Oh, you have to go to the doctor, you have to do this, you have to go to a healer, and so forth. And I think this is what is virtually evolving right now. And that's what nourishes me. Sometimes I say, do you have some sort of, was heißt Sucht? Addiction. And then I say, oh, I'm an information junkie. Yes.
Okay.
I love to view on YouTube these encouraging interviews or speeches or so forth. This is how I connect, because my neighbors, they think in an old-fashioned way. They think about fear. They are very tied up. They are nice people, but they live in a completely different world. And our vision is this paradigm shift and this mindset shift.
Yes.
And so it's really joyful to communicate with people who view cancer differently.
Yes.
We saw this interview with Lothar Hirneise. He is one of the German top speakers on cancer. He's traveled all around the world, and he says there is no such thing that the body wants to harm us in any way.
Yes.
They are cells. They are our cells, and they are probably even the cells that started the evolution of human beings or of living beings. They didn't live from air, but they lived from sugar, and that's how evolution started. They didn't live from oxygen.
And that's so important to realize that a shift in perspective actually changes everything. Because if I, imagine if I think, oh wow, cancer, this is my death sentence, then I have a certain feeling. I feel desperate, I feel hopeless, I feel powerless. It's a terrible feeling. And if I instead start viewing this what medicine calls cancer, this change in my cells, if I start to see this as something positive, yeah, that it's a chance for me, and it's something positive that the body does. It's not a threat, and my body doesn't want to kill me. Then my feeling changes immediately. Yeah.
Yes, and Luther Irna explained that the body lives in the here and now. And cancer for the future might be a death sentence, but the body creates it in the here and now, because in the here and now it's the best solution the body finds.
Yes, yes.
And it might protect you from diabetes, or from even more stress, or from anxiety, or whatever.
Yeah. So it's actually a program that the body starts to save itself in a way.
In this very moment.
In this very
Not
moment.
over time, but Luther Irna says every disease there is, it starts with a regulating process of the body,
exactly.
and in the here and now it's okay, and on a long-term basis they all sort of support dying. Yes, even if you have high blood pressure, in the very moment it might be good. You're very active, you're concentrated, everything is okay. But if you have it for 10 years or so, you might die from it. Or if your heart beats very fast, it might be a good adaptation in a period of stress, or of certain tasks you have to do. But on a long-term basis, it's dying.
But you know what really helped me actually, when we are now talking about it, to change this perspective, to ask what if questions. And because in the beginning to say, well, cancer is something positive, I didn't, that was just a sentence, I didn't believe that. But to ask myself questions, what if this cancer was simply a wake-up call in my life, and a gift of life, then I could slowly start to feel into this possibility. And so over time it started to feel natural. This is what if question, and the feeling that came along with it, with this possibility.
What if my body always creates the best solution?
Yes, that's a wonderful feeling.
What if my cells are very intelligent?
Yes.
So this might be an inspiration for the people who view, to ask these what if questions.
I find them very helpful.
This needs an energy which I like to call rebellion. Rebellious energy, just to question everything. Is cancer bad? Is it a death sentence? Is it only healed by doctors or whatever? Really to question everything, and to ask what if it's the opposite, and how does it feel?
And to realize that we are amazing beings, all of us, and we are powerful beings. And so much more is possible than we are conditioned to believe.
Yes.
And to slowly step outside of this narrow box, and to experience that life can be actually really, really beautiful and amazing. And that's my inner passion to share this possibility.
And I think that's the natural state.
Exactly.
It's not the normal state, but it's the natural state. I think evolution wouldn't have survived if there wouldn't have been joy and passion and creativity. Okay, so change your perspective in your body, in your mind, in your feelings, from fear to relaxation. From this is something bad to questioning what if. And change the body so that it can relax and you come back to ease.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Step by step.
Step by step. So thank you very much, Bettina.
Thank you, Alexandra.
And open your heart and start. Welcome to A Vision Live with Bettina Flossmann today and me. I'm Alexandra Kleeberg, and we are creating this A Vision Live right now on the topic of cancer and of changing the perspective on how to view cancer. You have your own very creative healing path out of cancer, and one of the new creation was a new perspective and a switch in your mindset.
Yes.
And that was very, very important for your healing, right?
That still is very important for my healing journey. And nowadays I can say I have this deep sense of certainty that cancer never was something threatening, really.
But that's your perspective now.
That's my perspective now.
Because a lot of people fear cancer.
A lot of people fear cancer, but I think it's because it's so much in our mind and in our collective mind or consciousness that cancer kills. Cancer is